So imagine a different scenario. Imagine that she's learned to get real curious about her feelings, about what's going on. So the feeling of hatred emerges. She says, that is a strong feeling. It's a little out of proportion for what he did to me after all. And she gets curious about it. And at that point she might have said, I was totally in love with this guy yesterday, and now I feel like I hate him. What's going on? And so she's begun to take responsibility. Just begun. And maybe the shadow, the emergence of the shadow has been circumvented here. But what if she misses this step? And she gets to that point that I described where she's really convinced that what's going on, he actually hates me. That's called projection. You project what you disown onto the other people, onto another person. And so what if she realized that she was beginning to do that? She gets curious. She begins to notice the strength of her judgment. She withdraws the projection. She says the hatred is my own, and then she follows the hatred right back to the basement door, because that's where it's going to lead her. And she's got to open the door, and she's going to see the monster, and she's going to realize that the monster is herself, and it's the beginning of her liberation. It's the beginning of her freedom, the possibility of intimacy. She's going to take all that energy that she has bottled up, avoiding those kinds of situations, and then getting into them, and then spinning these complex narratives, right? And all of that's going to be available for love. Beautiful thing. And it's difficult. It involves inner road work. And all the moralizing in the world won't touch this inner shadow work. You could come here on Sunday morning and I could preach to you all I wanted about, stop deceiving yourself, stop lying to God, stop lying to others. And you could try harder, but the shadow will trump willpower every time. Every time. You got to get to the door of the basement if you're going to get free from this. Now, I'm spending a fair bit of time on this, but I think for good reason, because this has been the missing piece in Christian spirituality for thousands of years. And it's only very recently that we've even been able to get some awareness on our shadow. You can read all the Christian mystics, all the great saints of our tradition. You'll find nothing about the shadow. And we got to start becoming aware of this, because I've seen congregations absolutely come apart because of the unredeemed shadow of sweet little church ladies, right? Who start to organize themselves to get rid of this minister. You see it in pillars of the church, men who are absolute pillars of the church get into these irrational episodes because they haven't learned the wisdom of getting to the basement door and dealing with the shadows. So those are 3 steps. Some people may naturally just be able to, like Nathaniel, I don't know how he got there. Jesus recognized, here's a man, there's no deceit in him. It's remarkable. And I want to make one final observation about deceit. We don't just deceive ourselves in relation to those things that we can't accept about ourselves or don't like about ourselves. We have a tendency, don't we, to misrepresent our giftedness as well. We hide our light. We diminish ourselves.Hy do we do that? Notice that when Jesus describes Nathanael as a man in whom there is no deceit, that's a pretty big compliment. Nathanael simply responds, where'd you get to know me? No denial, no obfuscation, no false modesty. It's true. He doesn't look around, doesn't look away. He doesn't say, oh, you got the wrong person here. Believe me, I'm no saint. No, that's not me. His honesty is the basis of the mutual recognition. Jesus is able to see him because he doesn't turn away from him. He says, that's true about me. I am a man in whom there's no deceit. I'm a straight shooter. What you see is what you get. That's right. I love this encounter because neither one of them obscures the truth about the other. Because when you look at it from Nathanael's point of view and his recognition the spiritual depth of Jesus, it's also pretty incredible what he does. Imagine a person who's not living in truth, meeting another person of superior intelligence, wit, or spiritual acumen. We typically have two responses if we're living in deceit to this kind of person. We either want to hide ourselves, disappear, get out of there because we don't want to feel smaller in relation to them, or we try to bring them down a notch or two. We knock them down so that they're at our level. The whole late postmodernist enterprise has been about this. We try to equalize everyone. There can be no spiritual masters. We'll take all the great men of history and we'll deconstruct their characters so they're just level with us. Just because they're white, they're male, they're European, whatever, we'll find a way to pull them down here. No greatness is permitted. But notice that Nathaniel doesn't do that. He's not diminished by Jesus' superior spiritual intelligence. He wants this. He sees one who's going to evoke his own evolution. Spiritual master, he says, Jesus, you are the Son of God, the King of Israel. Let me learn from you. And he can do this precisely because there's no deceit in him. There's a purity about this encounter. It's so clean, and for me it carries so much energy. You get the sense that together, they just might be able to reverse the course of human history. So I like to imagine a congregation that's committed to living in truth, to create a culture where we don't live in deceit with ourselves, with each other, and with God, where we do our shadow work lovingly, compassionately, respectfully. I think about how much energy would be available to change the world if we did that. And on the eve of Obama's inauguration, the world is holding its collective breath, hoping that here's a man in whom maybe there's no deceit. And it's a lot to ask, isn't it? Too much, maybe? Perhaps we could help Barack Obama's cause less by rooting for him to be our hero than by cultivating in ourselves the kind of honesty we hope that he embodies. And this is our own heroic journey to make. May it be so.